A U.S. Open test relentless. No exception to that rule here in round 2 on Friday, with a cut line settled at 7 over par. Taking a look at your leaderboard, it's Sam Burns out in front at 3 under par, one of just 3 players in red numbers. Burns, Spahn, and Hovland making up that group. But might this lead fall somewhere around even? CBS Sports golf analysts Rick Gehman and Doug Bell here to assess what we've seen. And fellas, we're going to come at this thing from all angles. Let's start right there at the top of the leaderboard with Sam Burns. Only 3 players under par, and that cut line settling at 7. Mathematical certainty now at this point. Rick, when you look at Burns, there's a lot of experience there. There's a poise and maturity that's grown with his years. But how comfortable is this a spot for him now sleeping on the 36-hole lead?
I don't think anybody is comfortable in this spot. Doesn't matter how many major championships you've won or haven't won. It's hard to close on the PGA Tour. It's hard to close out major championships, and to do it from the top, it's even more of a burden. The good news is I think that Sam Burns does have the demeanor, to be able to close out a big-time tournament. You know, he's won 5 times in the last handful of years. His putter has turned into a really big weapon, and the way that he played on Friday should elicit a ton of confidence moving forward. He beat the field by nearly 10 strokes. It was not only the best round that we've seen in a major championship this year, but it was the best round we've seen in any PGA Tour event of the year, eclipsing Jake Knapp and what he did in Florida earlier this year. So Sam Burns has got to be brimming with confidence. He had a close call last week in Canada, losing in a playoff to Ryan Fox. There is really nothing about his game that he should be concerned about, but it's definitely going to be more mental than it is physical the rest of the way.
And it really was an amazing day. That's 65, the 3rd best ever in Oakmont U.S. Open history, guys. Johnny Miller 63 and 73, and he was on the telecast today. It was great to see Johnny back, and he sounded just like the old Johnny, right? And Lauren Roberts back at 94, he shot a 64, the boss of the Moss. So this was really great stuff from Sam Burns today. Rick mentioned his putter, and that has been the key over the first 2 days, as he's recorded an astounding 11 birdies at Oakmont, but he has this silky smooth putting stroke that is equal going back and equal going through. It's just a standard grip. There's no pencil grip. There's no left hand low. There's no claw grip. It's just a thing of beauty, and it's always been the case for Sam Burns. He's always been a great putter. Look what he's done so far. I mean, it's pretty darn impressive, guys. And how about this? He and his wife and their 1-year-old are back at the house they're renting. Bear Burns, the little boy. What a great name, right? Bear Burns. And Sam says he's not getting any sleep at all, and maybe that's a good thing. And maybe when he goes back and changes diapers, it's taking his mind off the pressure at Oakmont. Whatever's happening, it's working over 36 holes for Sam Burns. He has played outstanding golf.
Yeah, we'll see if he can bear the pressure of the weekend at a U.S. Open, but 16 for 16 inside 10 feet for Sam Burns. That's going to get the job done at a U.S. Open type test. There's so much going on out there on the golf course, and it's such a test, but it feels like a waning momentum for these late groupings that we've seen as the day has worn on. So I want to go to a deep cut here right off the bat, guys. We're offered a moment in the evening hours by Phil Mickelson. One last thrill, if you will. 2 doubles in his final 4 holes, his undoing, but had 14 feet for birdie at the last to make the weekend, and what is likely going to be his last U.S. Open, out of exemptions. Doug, what did that moment feel like, and what did it mean to you?
Well, I was rooting for him. I really was. I've been around a long time, and I think the world of one of the greatest players in the modern era. And to think that he's finished second 6 times, he's second to Jack in most records in U.S. Open history, but he has that distinction of being the guy who's finished second more than anyone else. I was rooting for him. I wanted him to play on the weekend one more time, and I'm not so sure this is his last. Remember, Arnie and Jack got several special exemptions from the USGA, so maybe that'll be the offing for 55-year-old or soon-to-be 55-year-old Phil Mickelson. Lefty is one of the all-time greats. I was rooting for him, and you know what? As he walked off and he gave the thumbs up to the crowd, he was signing autographs. He's never changed that demeanor. Did interviews afterwards, so kudos to one of the all-time greats. Man, I wanted that last putt to go in.
It was a little, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but it was at the end of a long day. There weren't a lot of people out there. I don't know if everyone realized the moment that they were witnessing, right? I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, Doug went through the history books here, right? Basically second in every U.S. Open category. The guy has done it all and then some, and he just kind of walks off the last green there, pops a couple of thumbs up, and that might be it. You know, I think over the last couple of years, obviously Phil Mickelson's you know, his history has been rewritten a little bit, and I think a lot of opinions have changed on Phil, but what he's done on a golf course, especially at major championships, not only in terms of success, but in terms of longevity, is likely to be around for a long time. It's incredible what he's been able to do.
Yeah, the politics behind a special exemption for Phil Mickelson by the USGA would be an interesting one, to say the very least. But Lefty gave us a moment there at the end. The putt does not fall. We were all rooting for it, too. Would have been the second oldest player to make a cut at a U.S. Open. Still got the game, just one off of a cut line here at the U.S. Open. Let's get back to the here and now. Scottie Scheffler being at the center of that conversation always. 1 over 71 in his second round, 4 over now for the tournament. But uncharacteristic, Rick, and where he has struggled, the putter, making up for average approach play and below average play off of the tee. How live is the world #1 sitting now 7 off the lead heading to the weekend?
It's been pretty bad by Scottie Scheffler's standards, right? Now, those standards are incredibly high. We have seen the frustration rear its ugly head a handful of times throughout this major championship. He's been grinding on the range after each round, including after his Friday round, even pulling out the launch monitor, which is something that he doesn't usually do. It's usually just check the grip, hit a couple golf balls, make sure everything is good, and we'll move on. Not after this set of 36 holes. The good news is I trust Scottie Scheffler to figure it out. He's one of the better golfers who can figure it out on the fly, whether that's in the middle of a round or immediately after a round. And the other good news for Scottie Scheffler is that I think this tournament is wide open. And we are seeing a range of scores that will pop your eyeballs out of your head every single day. I mean, 65s and 85s and 68s and 78s. It's all over the place. So there is definitely a lot of ground to be made up. He's sitting at 4 over par. I believe all the guys at 4 over are very live to win this golf tournament, and Scottie Scheffler would be obviously the top option from that group.
Yeah, the numbers were astounding. 6 of 14 fairways hit, 7 out of 18 greens hit in regulation for the great Scottie Scheffler. That was his worst ball striking day of the year, and I'd have to go back several years. That was really an amazing thing to watch today. The last hole was a microcosm. It keeps the head cover on the driver, goes with a fairway metal to hit the fairway, pushes it out into the rough on the right side, has to chop it out. Third shot to 16 feet, misses it, suffers the bogey, and man, was he hot. But I'm in agreement with Rick. He's not out of it just yet, so we'll see what happens. With the rain falling at Oakmont, he's a mutter. Scottie Scheffler might be the best mutter of them all. And we'll see what happens as he tackles a softer golf course on Saturday. And I just know those guys at the top of the leaderboard, they may not admit it, but they're looking in the rearview mirror because they know he's back there, and they know it's raining, and they know he's going to figure things out.
Yeah, if you got one eye on the leaderboard, you always have one eye on Scottie Scheffler. We'll see what it looks like on the weekend for the world #1. Fellas, if you'll allow me to, I'd like to read into the record some of those names who will not be a part of our weekend story. Rose, Lowry, Straka, Oberg, Fleetwood, DeChambeau, Cantlay, Thomas, Neiman, or in other words, like a third of September's Ryder Cup, and Joaquin. Who do you circle, Doug, for most disappointment out of that group?
Well, good gracious. There were a lot of them, right? Justin Thomas. Here's a guy who has 2 PGA championships. He's had a rebound year, a win at the RBC Heritage, and he came in with great confidence, having posted some really good scores on the PGA Tour. But I think what we're seeing, plus 12, it's just hard to look at, and it was hard to watch the coverage today at JT. The USGA setup just doesn't work for him any longer because he is so inconsistent off the tee, and he doesn't miss it in just one direction. He misses it in both directions. And over 36 holes at Oakmont, his iron play was not anything to write home about either. So a short week for Justin Thomas, a disappointing week for Justin Thomas. Back on tour next week, and he'll have one more chance to add a major championship #3, and that'll be at Royal Portrush, but that won't be for a few weeks. So I know he's disappointed in his play, and I am too. I thought he was going to play better.
Yeah, there's a lot of disappointments here, but our defending champion, Bryson DeChambeau, for me is the biggest. And Doug mentioned that a USGA setup is not good for Justin Thomas, and I agree. A USGA setup is great for Bryson DeChambeau. This is a guy who has scorched golf tournaments all over the globe for the last 18 months, including being not only major champion, but over the last 2 years, being in the mix at basically every major championship and going to a golf course that really should suit his strengths. And I saw a Bryson DeChambeau that looked pedestrian. Even there were times where he would hit that bomb off the tee, he'd have some short wedge in, and he would miss his number by 10 or 15 yards. It just wasn't even close. The touch around the greens was non-existent. The putter, especially the speed, the distance control with the flat stick, was all over the yard. It was a little better on Friday than it was on Thursday, but just too little too late for Bryson, especially as the rest of his game was struggling. And frustration mounted, in the same way that we saw Jon Rahm run hot, the same way we saw Scottie Scheffler run hot. Bryson DeChambeau not immune to running hot and was just putting too many squares on the scorecard. I thought that this major championship was going to run through Scottie Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau. Only one of them will be around for the weekend.
And he will have to chase. Again, it's Sam Burns at the top through 36 holes. Rick Gehman, Doug Bell, plenty more to come. Appreciate the thoughts as always here on HQ. Look at that leaderboard one last time. Coming into the day, we had, if memory serves me correct, 10, 8 in red numbers. Well, only 3 stand there now. Sam Burns, J.J. Spawn, our 18-hole leader who played this day in 2 over par, from 4 back down to 2. And moving day could mean many things. Maybe moving back towards even par for all involved. Continuing coverage of the 125th playing of the U.S. Open takes us out to Oakmont, where we say hello to CBS golf analyst Patrick McDonald. Patrick, top of the notebook from another 13-hour day on the grounds is where I want to go first. Sam Burns obviously headlines this pack, but of your observations, what's ringing true in your mind?
I think for me, what's ringing true is really the variance involved in a U.S. Open, Joe. I looked back at the previous champions, and 7 out of the last 9 are first-time winners. You think about the champions here at Oakmont, Angel Cabrera, Dustin Johnson, Ernie Els. They turned into household names, but all first-time winners. Even Jack Nicklaus back in the day, his first major championship came here at Oakmont. And I think just the variance involved in a U.S. Open is something that always gets understated, where a lie that's 5 feet off the fairway, you might have a shot at the hole. A lie 6 feet off the fairway, you're completely boned. And you look at this leaderboard, it is an eclectic bunch. You have Sam Burns, who is a 5-time PGA Tour winner, a very good player, but hasn't really performed on the major championship stage. J.J. Spawn's had a great season, but him contending in a major championship, it seems like a little too soon in his progression, despite that playoff loss to Rory McIlroy. Then you have Tristan Lawrence, who held the lead at the Open with 9 holes to go, 2 up on Xander Schauffele, didn't come through at Royal Troon. And then a Brooks Koepka as well, someone who didn't have a lot of form coming in, but found it in Victor Hovland. The list really goes on. And I think not only is this U.S. Open maybe not identifying the best player right now, I think it's identifying the toughest player right now. And tomorrow with this rain, I think we might turn that leaf over, and the best players are going to thrive.
Yeah, there is some happenstance about it, and sometimes the luck of the lie is the luck of the draw in this case. Scottie Scheffler has oftentimes bristled back at the fairness of golf tournaments that don't set up in a way where the best player is identified. So forgive me as I redirect us towards the elephant in the room, but Scottie's chances at 4 over par are not 0. Play better is an obvious adjustment here, but does the game plan remain the same on the weekend for Scottie?
I think it does, and I've never seen Scottie Scheffler so animated on a driving range before. You think about what his normal post-round action is like. It's check the grip, check the fundamentals, make sure the ball position is correct, use that training aid of his. This guy is an artist. He's a field player. He's not someone who goes to the TrackMan and makes sure the spin numbers are correct. Well, he was today. He was looking at the iPhone. He was having Randy Smith take videos of his swing. He had alignment sticks down. He was working on his takeaway. He threw his club after he just didn't take his club away correctly, and he just grinded through that range session. He was out there for over an hour because his ball striking wasn't up to snuff. I talked to Rick about what this ball striking performance has been for Scottie Scheffler. It's his worst performance since last year's BMW Championship. That's also his worst finish, his only finish outside the top 25 in the last couple of years also. And so for Scheffler, if that ball striking comes alive, because today was a round that major championships are built on. It's not around like the Saturday at the PGA Championship where everyone remembers how he got around the Green Mile or how he finished that tournament. This is around that major champions need to win major championships, and he got around 71, clipped the field average by about 4 strokes, and was disappointed in that. So he still has a lot of juice left to squeeze, and I think he's definitely live, but that ball striking must get better. He only hit 6 fairways today in 7 greens in regulation. That sounds like you and me, Joe, not Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, the ball striking bar has been set exceedingly high, obviously, for the best player in the world, but amazing to watch him call upon a different aspect of the game and stay in this tournament, stay in this championship, 7 back as we head to the weekend, but by no means out of it. I want to talk about someone way down the world golf rankings from Scotty Scheffler. That's world golf ranking number 2, Rory McIlroy. Wouldn't say uncle here on Friday, and maybe we expected him to. A lot of action with our friends in the desert for Rory to miss the cut this week, coming in off form, couldn't figure out the driver, still not firing on all cylinders, but a nightmare start could have easily packed up shop, Patrick. He didn't. What sort of resolve did you see on the way home from Rory?
You got to give him credit, right? It was a true, I would say, professional performance out of McIlroy. Like you mentioned, 2 double bogeys in his first 3 holes, made a real head-scratching decision there on number 3. Those right bunkers are deeper than the church pews on the left, and he tried to kind of bite more than he could chew out of there, makes a double bogey. But you look at his last 15 holes, he hit 13 greens in regulation. He drove the golf ball much better. He made birdie on 2 of his last 4 holes to presumably make the cut, what he thought he needed at the time. And so it's been a very strange month and a half, 2 months since that career Grand Slam win. He has the move coming up in a couple of weeks too. He's moving from Florida to the United Kingdom. He's refusing to talk to the media again. I'm not too sure exactly what's going on with Rory McIlroy. I know he was a bit irked about the non-conforming driver at the PGA Championship, and I think he's a bit irked with how he's swinging the golf club right now. It seems to me, if you look at the top of his swing, that he's reverting back to some old habits. Remember, Joe, he locked himself in that swing studio to make sure the top of his golf swing was more sustainable in pressure moments last fall. It's looking like mid-2024 right now, not late 2024, early 2025. So I think if you have to pick something from Rory, not mental, but more physical and tangible in the actual game, I'd look at the top of that backswing and that takeaway.
So much going on there. I can't wait for the 3-part documentary that feels like it's only inevitable. The chronology of 2024 through 2025, the life and times of Rory McIlroy, has been a roller coaster. I know it's been a long day out there at Oakmont, so I only have one more for you, and it's to look into the future for us. I need a winner and a winning score as this thing has moved its way back even closer to even par once again.
Winning score. You're setting me up for failure right now because it just absolutely dumped here. There are puddles all around Oakmont. There are rivers on the 18th hole. And so I'm going to say the winning score. It was my pre-tournament winning score. I still feel confident in it, but I think there's going to be some scores out there early tomorrow, and it's going to be 2 under. And so that means Sam Burns is going to come back. J.J. Spahn's going to potentially stay where he is. Viktor Hovland needs to get one. But at 2 under, I still like Scotty Scheffler. I really do. I think he has a really good opportunity tomorrow on a potentially softer golf course to shoot something around 66, around 65, match that effort from Sam Burns today, and really apply some pressure on this leading pack that does lack experience. You have Burns, who hasn't really been there. Spahn hasn't really been there. Viktor Hovland said he just is going from swing thought to swing thought, going with whichever one feels good in the moment. He was right next to Scheffler on the range when Scheffler was going through it this afternoon. So I'm afraid Hovland could keep his edge and win this golf tournament. But if I'm looking down the board, I'm looking at Scotty Scheffler.
I know the man needs no wisdom at events like these, but I will say this. No better investment on days like these than an $85 umbrella. Get you one. Patrick McDonald, appreciate you as always, pal. Stay dry. Try and keep those numbers dry as well. Sam Burns at 3 under par. Would he sign for it right now? 36 holes from where we sit. 3 under a winning score. Patrick McDonald tells you 2. Others looking for even. We're halfway home at the United States Open.